Why make Rise Donnie autistic? Hi! Something we've been thinking about is why did they make Rise of the TMNT Donatello autistic, and is this new or were the previous Donnies autistic? After reviewing the evidence and doing some research, this is what we've come up with. What makes a Donnie? We're going to focus on the animated show Donnies, but this still applies to the rest. Core character traits of every Donnie include sassiness, genius, and homicidal tendencies. Each in varying amounts, but each also have something that separates them from other Donnies. 87 is high in the sass and genius, but his homicidal tendencies become more obvious when he gets his brain fried. There isn't that much to him outside of these.
You tricked me! It figures. He majored in trigonometry.
They're robots!
03 Donnie is gentle, to the point that it becomes a core character trait for this version. His sassiness is more subtle, and the homicidal tendencies are overshadowed by the gentleness that a lot of fans mistake him for a pacifist. He's also traumatized every 5 episodes. 12 Donnie is very insecure and has poor social skills, being possessive of April and aggressive towards Casey. Both of these are due to the fact that Splinter's parenting style is very emotionally detached. He's high in sass, but is actually the one with the least homicidal tendencies, despite being more volatile. And Rise has obvious autism that affects everything he does. He's also the only one who wasn't raised in a borderline paranoid household that causes him to be consistently on edge. Something I find interesting that I found on Tumblr was the fact that someone pointed out that there is one major difference between all of the Donnies: how they use language, particularly big words. 87 Donnie will make up big words just to mess with people. Like, he knows a lot of actual big words, but he also makes up a bunch of them just for the fun of it. 2003 Donnie, when he uses big words, he's using them to try to express himself as precisely as possible. The 2012 Donnie, all of his big words tend to be very technical because because every time he uses big words, he's talking about something scientific that he's working on. Whereas Rise Donnie uses big words in order to prove his intellectual superiority. That's all it is. So why is Rise Donnie autistic? The doylist, or behind-the-scenes reason. I suspect it's never been done before. The writers and directors wanted to make Rise unique in the TMNT fandom, so they had to find ways to create new dynamics without removing the core traits. So Donnie's autistic, Leo and Raph have swapped places, and Mikey has homicidal tendencies. Okay then, why autism? Autism is very hard to represent because it's part of a spectrum of traits that disrupt how you process everything, primarily emotions. Underneath the autism is the core traits that make him a Donnie. That's why anyone who has autism should not be treated as though their neurological condition is their personality. The thing is, the current stereotype in media, although technically positive, is that if you have autism, then you must be really, really smart. A part of that may be due to the idea that smart people get obsessed really easily, and autism is known for its obsessive tendencies. The problem with this idea is that everyone is obsessed with something, even complete idiots. Smart people are just better at diving deeper and building on their favorite subjects. Also, possibly representation points. Other than this, I wouldn't know what the thought process was behind this. Okay, now look at Watsonian, or the canon reason. Autism is genetic. The reason then becomes, which side did it come from, the human or the turtle? I know that sounds weird, but hear me out. Considering being autistic is a major part of his character, you'd think that one of his siblings or ancestors would have it. If you have one child with it, that increases the chances of your other children having it. Splinter isn't, and all of them get all of their human DNA from him. Then why is Donnie the only one? There's also scenes with his ancestors. If he inherited it from them, then the writers would have made sure that we'd know by having one or more speak and act similar to him, but they don't. On the turtle side, Donnie is unrelated to his family because he's a spiny softshell, and before you ask, yes, animals can have autism. The thing is, most animals with autism die when they're really young because autism ruins their ability to function, and nature does not care. Spiny softshells, on the other hand, autism doesn't completely hinder their survival. An autistic human baby is very unresponsive unless picked up, often reacting badly. In animals, autistic baby animals tend to not react to anything, and you can manually push on limbs and heads without fear of being bitten or clawed. This unfortunately means a lot of them get eaten really easily. Baby softshells often, because most of their instincts are compromised from the start, don't really flee until they're already halfway in a predator's mouth. As adults, they tend to flee from everything. More of a, it touched me kind of way rather than out of fear of being eaten. Adult autistic humans have a weakened sense of self-preservation, mostly opting for curling up into a ball and trying to distract themselves from the unwanted stimuli. A neurotypical human self-preservation can be lacking sometimes too, so that's a reasonable response. A softshell's defense mechanism is heavily reliant on their instinct to eat, so instead of lashing out to keep unwanted guests at a distance, they straight off bite anything they can reach and fit in their mouths. Considering they can snip a finger clean off with one bite, they're not holding back, especially the females. So since most of his autistic behavior is perfectly natural for a softshell, and it leaks into the human half, which is the high-functioning side, it's more likely he got it from his turtle half. Okay, so are the other Donnies autistic?
Short answer? No. Long answer? No.
None of the other Donnies have autistic coping mechanisms, verbal tics, or behaviors, especially during childhood, where masking hasn't been developed yet.
Let's get him!
Come on and fight, you big bird brains!
We're not afraid of you!
Yeah, I just love beating up someone smaller than me. Well, let's take care of the big one first.
Hey, you big bully!
Quick, dude, run! Oh, great!
On top of that, not a single person thought any of the pre-Rise Donnies were autistic until a year after Rise became popular. We finished making the video like 3 weeks ago, but this only just occurred to me, so we're putting it in post. The thing is, one of the things that autism is well known for is having difficulty with social cues. They have this emotional disconnect, like they don't understand what they have difficulty understanding what the emotion is that they're looking at when they see somebody's nonverbal behavior. And you actually see 1987, 2003, and 2012 Donnie actually responding to and properly recognizing and properly responding to social cues. 2012's problem is 2012. So there was this girl on YouTube who actually diagnosed him with social anxiety. I don't remember. I can't find the video, and she was a really small channel. She had a really small channel, but like, she went through and like listed off all of these reasons why she suspected that he has a major amount of social anxiety, and like that drives his actions. And she made that before watching Rise. And then she accurately pinpointed that Rise Donnie had a low empathy autism. The thing is, with social anxiety and autism, people with autism actually have a really hard time having a really hard time even getting social anxiety, because a lot of the times, because of that disconnect, they will walk up to a crowd full of people that they don't know and just introduce themselves like, "Hi, I want to be part of your group." No connection. Like, And like because of that disconnect, they don't tend to care what other people think about them a lot of the time. Like that social anxiety doesn't become debilitating. It's the oversensory that's debilitating to them. What doesn't help 2012 Donnie is the fact that April and her mixed signals...
Wow, that is just super neat. Thanks so much, Donnie.
I'm just a mutant.
You're not just a mutant, Donnie. You're my mutant. Mwah.
And something else is, like, I think one big sign with autism, if it was in the 2012, like, he would not have actually had a problem with Casey, even though Casey also had a crush on April. Like, with an autistic person, because of that disconnect, like, he would try to befriend Casey in spite of his crush, in spite of Casey's crush on April, and, like, just trying to, like, doesn't see how that's a problem. On top of the fact that you actually do, like with 87 Donnie, you see plenty of times where he responds to certain social cues. Like he responds to social cues like a normal person, like a neurotypical person.
Did you say a 10-foot hole in the wall?
Yes, something awful's happened to Irma. She must have been kidnapped by a monster.
I hate to tell you this, April, but I'm afraid the monster just might be Irma.
You also see 2003 Donnie interact, well, you actually see quite a few times where 2003 Donnie interacts, notices social situation, understands the social situation better than his brothers. Like, take with the Triceraton, take with the scene with the Triceraton, all of the rest of them are responding to the Triceraton like he's a threat, and Donnie's just looking at him and recognizing that he is in pain, he needs help, that he can't breathe, and probably has some brain damage. Like, that's what he recognizes. Also looks and notice, like, people, like, there's a scene where where 2003 Donnie is, like, there's chaos, and he's just trying to figure out how to get the crystal to work, trying to plug it into the slot, and Mikey goes, "Why not you maybe it's upside down." And Donnie's response is, it's not working because it's not working because it's upside down. And then, like, then he thinks about it for a couple of seconds, then just flips it over, and, like, he does this with Mikey all the time. Whereas I think with an autistic person in that particular situation, they would either just immediately flip it over at the suggestion, or if they were being extra stubborn, decided, nope. Well, no, I absolutely refuse to flip it over, because then that means you're right. And something else is because of the uniqueness of this particular situation, where this character's been around for a really long time, but he's been depicted slightly differently each time. With the whole autism thing, what would actually be interesting is if they had a crossover where they had all of them crossed over, and then, like, the Rise turtles realizing that what they think are Donnie things are actually not. It's just something specific to their Donnie that doesn't apply to any of the other Donnies. And I think that would actually be interesting to explore in a crossover. Think of the way each show is written. If the original Donatello had been written as autistic, then 87 Donnie would have either had his autism removed, and fans of the comic would have cried ableism, or he'd be the most autistic stereotype at the time, which would have made the audience hate him. 03 Donnie is the closest to the original comics because the main director was one of the guys who wrote the comic. If he was, it may have been handled better, but the problem was that this Donnie didn't get a lot of character development in the show anyway. If he was autistic, then that would have caused more frustration among the fans than it already does. The 2012 show's writing is not the best. Considering the way he is characterized, if he was autistic, it would have either caused his behavior to worsen, or it would have been used by the writers to excuse his behavior, which is honestly worse. Because Rise Donnie's autism was presented well, some people have romanticized the idea of all the Donnies being autistic, without understanding what that would entail. Romanticizing is, oh wow, they're amazing because they're autistic. While in reality, it's the core traits in spite of the autism that make people amazing. It's like saying that their autism is their worth. So is making Donnie autistic a good thing? Representing autism in and of itself is fine. It's when people romanticize autism that it becomes an issue. Donnie as a character is relatable to so many people, but they feel invalidated when others brush their perfectly healthy neurotypical traits off as wonder of autism, which also invalidates autistic people's core traits that lead to their successes. Having an autistic Donnie is fine as long as you don't retroactively assign autism to Donnies that don't have it to fit your own notions of who he is in spite of the evidence. You wouldn't do this to real historical people, so why do different versions of a fictional character? Why do you care? They're not real people. You can do whatever you want with them. Well, how you view and treat your fictional characters is based on how you view and treat the people around you. Either you vilify those you disagree with and change the ones you like to suit yourself, or you treat each person on their own merits, getting to know them and respecting them for who they are, even if you don't agree with them. What does this mean for future Donnies? Well, if you make your own Donnie, then you can add your own twist to the character as long as you keep the core traits. Otherwise, he won't be a Donatello. But making him autistic just because it's trendy, or that's just what he is, that's just how he is now, is wrong. And that's my point. Like, comment, subscribe, don't be rude to me. Bye!